only go in with what you know, that you know. And I always tell entrepreneurs the worst thing you could have is money. That's the worst thing you could have. Because if you go in there with a lot of money, you're going to end up blowing it and losing it most times, just because you're going to try to figure out stuff. And if you have a lot of money, it's going to make you be lazy. If you don't have any money, I started my business with an American Express card, and I didn't have any money. It made me I had to be very ingenuity. I had to be very clever. I had to really use every dollar I had to the utmost and make it count, because if I didn't, it could be the death of the company. So I'd rather have you come in there with, if you got $10,000 and and that's your last 10 grand, I'd tell somebody to put it in a muni bonds, or put it somewhere you can't get a hold of it for a long time, and just take $1,000 to incorporate your company and try working it that way on your ingenuity and grit. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use money and capital to help you out, but if you have a lot of money and you're not an experienced business person, I think it's kind of dangerous.
Self-downfall.
Biggest ego.
What did it cost you?
In dollars, I spent $5.6 million or $5.3 million on an airplane one time when I should have never done it. I timed it wrong. I thought I was smarter than the market. It cost me about $3.5 million loss in that. Yeah, and then when because I wrote the plane down, I didn't realize it, but I had some smart accountants working for me, and so on an airplane, you can write it down. The only thing good about an airplane, if you own it, is April 15th, because you can write it doon so much. So I wrote the plane down, and it was $5.3 million, and by the time I finally got around to selling it, which I did, I owed $3 million on the note, and I had the plane for 3 years, and I sold it for $3 million, what I owed on the note. But then I had a phantom tax. Does anybody know what a phantom tax is? Okay, so I wrote it down so hard that in the IRS's eyes, the plane was only worth $1,875,000, and I sold it for $3.2 million.
So you had a capital gain.
Big capital gain. It said, boo, it's a phantom tax, and it cost me $750,000 in income tax on that deal. And it was just a nightmare that would never end. And I only did it because I could, and I made a huge mistake, which I haven't told the other people this before, but I did it without talking to my wife. And I think that was the big mistake. I just did it because I could do it.
So was that on top of $750 for the maintenance on the engine?
Oh yeah, man. The thing went down to Cessna down on one, and here's the thing. One time I took it down for, I think it was a Section 5, and down at Cessna at San Antonio, and so it was down there for like 4 weeks, and every week they call up and it's more money. It's like I could never get it out. And it ended up being like $750,000. And my brother-in-law was getting married in San Diego, and we were flying out there the next day, and the plane was going to be coming in. So I was really excited to get in the plane, flying the whole family to San Diego, big dog in it, right? An hour before the plane's supposed to be in Dallas at Love Fields, where we kept it at the FBO, I get a call from the pilot and said, Cessna says the plane is circling over Love Field right now, and they can't get the landing gear down, and they're foaming the runway. Needless to say, we couldn't take the plane to San Diego, so I ended up spending $12,000 on plane tickets at the last minute to go to San Diego. And I had to sit, everybody was sitting in first class. I was sitting all the way in the back of the plane, center aisle, and bitching all the way. Yeah, they loved it. I really own a plane, and it's not, they didn't care. Shut up. And that was an embarrassing moment for me. But
So did it land with wheels up?
Yeah, it did. No, it landed, the wheels were down. They just the light didn't come on. And then Cessna fixed it all, but, yeah.
They weren't going to let you use it.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, it was, because they had to declare an emergency landing and lots of paperwork. Question? Yeah.
So what's your philosophy on debt? How do you use debt?
Yeah, debt doesn't bother me as long as it's not, stupid debt like credit card debt, that's paying 18 and 19, 20%. If you got a HELOC against your house at 3 or 4%, and you got to go in and borrow $100,000 or $500,000 on a HELOC, I don't have a problem with that as long as you've got a good business plan. I think some people get wrapped around the axle about debt, especially in the Christian community. I know I got a lot of millennials I coach, and they're all worried about their student loan. their student loan is $700. They owe $30,000 on a student loan. I said, once you get on your feet, you'll be able to pay that thing off in 6 months. Don't worry about that right now. I mean, I think the Christian aspect, the fundamentalist Christian, I think they spend way too much time scared to death of debt. I think it can be used to your advantage if it's done right. Money's really cheap right now. It's so cheap. You should get all you can get, but do it wisely. Does that make sense? Do you agree with that, Michael? To an extent? Yeah.
It held me up. It's one of the reasons I haven't jumped off yet.
Debt?
I'm like, yeah, you just
Yeah, you don't want to go into, you don't want to go, yeah, you don't want to,
never get there.
you don't want to, yeah, I don't believe in, taking a Visa and going out. I mean, it's, the good thing about a Visa credit card is it's unsecured debt. So if you're a gambler, it's good, but I mean, if you want to be, if you want to be integrous and you want to do it right, I would encourage you to get lower amounts. If you're going to borrow money, I would borrow it less than on a credit card because that's just expensive. And I did it on American Express. The only reason I did American Express because there wasn't any interest on American Express, and I could at the time, I could go 45 days, and so I would run, $40,000 a month until the money came in, and then got it built, and then it took off. But it was scary. It was scary. I had a home. My house was worth about $400,000. This is back in 1992, and I had paid it down to $200,000, and so I knew I had that. So I wasn't too worried about it.